Kenya Lionesses, they are out this weekend, starting tomorrow, playing their last round in the Challenger Series. And kudos, Kenya Lionesses have done Kenya proud so far. They won back-to-back titles for the very first time in Cape Town Sevens. But now they're heading to the last leg, leading the pool on 40 points. Kabir.
Look, there's a reason they're called the Lionesses, and they have hunted the plains of rugby sevens with absolute power and almost unchallenged. I mean, you look at what they did in Cape Town. They looked ferocious. They were technically very sound, and they look like they have what it takes to go up there. There's a reason that we're leading the Challenger Series with 40 points. And I think, we definitely belong playing one level up. And I think that there's every indication that that's where we'll be.
Mpesa coming on board and actually boosting these girls has played a huge role in terms of knowing that they are playing for something at stake. Do you think that it came at the right time?
For sure. We talk about this a lot, across a great many disciplines. Sport in Kenya has sadly suffered in some areas because we don't have the back end to support the things. We were talking with the head of the NBA last week on Saturday Music and Sport, who said that Kenya is one of the richest places for talent he's ever seen in his life. But we don't have enough of what it takes in the other parts of the sport to make it work. And so when you get someone like Mpesa coming on board and putting some money there so that the girls can eat well, they can train well, so that they can go to physiotherapy, so they can have their injuries looked after. These are the ingredients that you need to make a successful team. Mpesa have put the money in, and the results are there. So it's not really complicated to figure out what's working.
Kudos to Mpesa. Thank you so much for coming on board actually to help the Kenya Lionesses. They have gone through a lot without a sponsor. We have been in this Challenger Series trying to qualify. Sometimes they lack to have even the airfare to go there and qualify. But Mpesa, these are the corporates that we need to see them in sports. That said and done, Kabi. Now the real work starts tomorrow. Kenya has been unbeaten, doing very well in terms of the Challenger Series. History beckoning. But that will determine tomorrow. Kenya is in Pool A. They'll take on Colombia. They have Belgium and they have Thailand.
Yeah, look, I'm going to put myself out there and say that we're on top for a reason. And I think that the girls have played exceptional rugby. We've previously beaten Belgium 17-5 and we beat Colombia 12-5. So I don't think Thailand will be an upset for us either. So, honestly speaking, I would be surprised if the girls don't win all three games and go through. I just think that we are a much better side.
In terms of the confidence, it has grown with the girls match by match, leg by leg. And if you remember the last match Kenya played in the final against also Colombia. It was a very tense match. We watched with you thanks to Mpesa at the RFEA for the watch party. It was very, very, very a tense match, very close match. Do you think that the opponents have learned Kenya's tactics and they need to actually change the tactics here and there?
For sure. We said this when we discussed the men's game that, it actually helped us to beat France. The previous week, we had narrowly lost to them. And then, we watched the game. The boys looked at it. There's obviously a technical analysis bench. They watched, they learned, they figured out where the, holes were, and we took advantage of it. So yeah, I expect, and the girls should also expect that, their game plan will now be known. Part of the game of sevens is to be, to have different tactics, to be adaptable towards it. We've been very strong in the pack. Good scrums, good fitness from the girls as well. But again, coming to something that we've talked about previously is they've also been playing a lot of rugby. So we're now at the point in their season for this championship where you wonder what their level of fitness will be. And I think if anything lets them down, or if anything could be a challenge for them, it may be the fact that they played so much rugby that they now have to maintain that standard of performance to go through.
But it matters less because they are playing in Poland all said and done, Kenya is topping the Challenger Series with 40 points. South Africa are second with how many points? I think 34 points. 34. If you look at it, Kenya is pretty heading to the playoffs for them to make history, to qualify for a very first ever HSB7's World Series. How do you see the Challenger playoff going? Let's now cross borders. They have reached the LA, which is the last leg for the playoffs. How do you see them faring? Because now it's the top four. If you look at the top four at the Challenger Series, you have your Brazil, who's leading from, actually who's at the bottom because of the HSB7's World Series. Brazil is 9th place, China 10th, Ireland 11th, and Spain at the bottom of the pool with position 12.
Look, you'd have to say with the exception of Ireland, these are all traditionally non-rugby nations. And so I think in that sense, the girls have a very good chance to go through. I think Dennis Mwanja, the coach, has done a good job with the girls. He's really drilled the basics there. If you look at their ball handling skills, it's one of the most impressive things about them is they're fairly consistent and their ability to recover from any mistakes that they made. So I think that, before we move forward, you have to say that they'll probably use this weekend as an opportunity to test themselves in areas where they may not have tried something, certain players, or try a different tactic because they know they're through. But once we get to Los Angeles, then everything is on the line. And so I think the opportunity this weekend is to give players who haven't had much game time enough game time so that other players can rest, tactically to see what else they could try that works for them. And then, I definitely see an opportunity for us to go through. I don't think that having watched, China is actually a surprisingly good team. I wouldn't have picked them to be as strong as they are. I think they've had a little bit of bad luck as well. I don't think they're tactically sound, but in terms of their ball handling skills, their fitness, their strength, they look like the strongest out of those bottom four teams. In terms of Brazil, I don't think we should have a problem beating them. Ireland, again, they come from a rugby nation. They're a hard-hitting team. And the last one was
Spain.
Spain, again, have been a surprise in the men's team. And equally, you can see they've put in the work on the women's side as well. And so I think that they'll actually be the other challenge for Kenya. So, 2 big games and 2 games where I think, we have a reasonably good chance of winning without too much trouble.
Out of 10? Look, Abil, I'll tell you, out of 10, I'm giving Kenya 9 out of 10. Remember that I predicted the other time that Kenya will beat France and reach the final of the Singapore Sevens, and they did. Looking at where Kenya have come from, I don't think that they'll let the ball go away. They will not slide at the last hour. So I'm tipping them to qualify because you only need to finish at the semi-finals. Yeah. And the top 4 teams, then they have qualified to the HSB7's World Series. Another team to qualify alongside Kenya, I don't know the rest, but South Africa.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think the South African girls have played exceptionally well. A little bit surprising that they are, in the challenger thing. But, this is the great thing about sevens. We talk about it all the time, is that it's not like traditional rugby. You have to be flexible, you have to be strong, and you have to be unbelievably fit, and then technically sound. And this is something that our girls have managed to do. I actually do think that they'll go through, but the reason that I perhaps hesitate for a moment is that it is a big occasion. And the one thing that we haven't had much experience at is playing on the big stage, big occasion. It's one thing to play a smaller tournament and small finals, but when you get to the point where something big is on the line, you may have all the skills, but mentally you need to be very switched on and prepared for the occasion. So that's where I think that the real challenge lies for the girls. But I'm with you. I don't see any reason that they shouldn't go through.
Any player that you think that has been outstanding?
Captain Grace
Okulu.
I mean, she's the leading try scorer from Cape Town. She had 42 points, 8 tries, 1 conversion. Leading from the front. It's what you want in any captain. And she's really, really brought the girls together. The other thing that I like is that Freisha Odor and Judith Okumu both they scored 22 and 20 points respectively, 4 tries each. Is that whilst Grace has been the standout by quite a long way, is that other members of the team have also contributed, so that you can't really say that an opposition could focus on one player. As they did in the men's, we know that we have strengths and weaknesses with certain players in the men's. In the women's game, I feel like we're much stronger across the board. And so, points could come from anywhere, which makes us much more dynamic, which is why I think that the women have been so dominant. So whether you're playing on the left wing or the right wing, whether it's through the middle, the girls have found opportunities, and every girl who's had an opportunity has made the most of it, which makes them quite dynamic. They can play through the middle. They can drive hard. They're strong. And then they have the pace on the wings, and they have the depth. So, those three to me stand out. How about you, Alex?
Okulu, definitely. Yeah. She has the experience. She was in the Olympics qualifiers. She was in the Olympics the last time Kenya qualified for the Olympics in Tokyo. She has been very consistent. And if you look at her power, it has driven Kenya to where Lionesses has been today. So I'll actually rate Okulo to take Kenya to the HSB Sevens World Series for the very first time, alongside other girls. But her motivation is key to the other lads, most experienced. She's doing well.
Yeah, I think one thing that you just raised is the strength.
Yes.
If you look at the strength of the girls overall, I think this is the strongest I've ever seen the girls play. Like, their ability to run not just at players, but through players. I mean, you can see that they're, again, coming back to the benefits of having someone like Mpesa backing you. They're obviously doing the work in the gym. They're doing the fitness work. And so when they get out on the pitch, man, neither you or I, Alex, would stand a chance in their way.
If you are in Mwanja's shoes, Kabir, right now, ahead of tomorrow's matches in Poland, what will you do?
I think I alluded to it earlier. I wouldn't take any great risks. I don't think that we want to lose. These are games that we should win, but it's a great opportunity for us to give girls who haven't had a run more leg time, on the pitch, so that if we need them, when we need them, they're ready. So, you could almost say you could swap the starting 7 with the other 7 who don't traditionally start. I think it's an opportunity for him to tactically try 1 or 2 things different, because he's going to need more options when he gets to the bigger teams, knowing that everybody has analyzed our team and our tactics and our strengths and weaknesses. So great opportunity, as you said, because we're not under pressure to qualify. We know we're going through. Just to, try a few different things, get everybody ready, make sure everyone's head is in the right place. And we have 3 games to do it. And like I said, I think that Colombia might be a tougher game, but realistically, Belgium, we really didn't struggle too much against. And I think Thailand is going to be a bit of a walkover. So, an opportunity for the girls to just, think a little bit differently and give themselves a chance to try different things.
Definitely. And we wish the Kenya Lionesses all the very best. All the Kenyans will be behind the Lionesses, ready to roar in Poland, and we know they will do it. And as always, Mpesa coming through for the team, I think has played a major role for the Kenya Lionesses to reach where they are. They are just one step away, and I think the girls never miss with anything to do with history. So what the under-17 girls did to qualify for the World Cup for the very first time in football, and now rugby, I think it is beckoning. It's around the corner, and we wish the Kenya Lionesses all the very best. Saturday Music and Sports Show will be there to analyze each and every match, Kabir.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah, and we have, in fact, all 3 games. I think the first game is, what time? It's at 11.
The first game is 11:50, playing against Belgium. And then we play, that is tomorrow.
Yes.
Which is on Friday.
And then 3:30.
And then we play Thailand tomorrow. That's Friday at 3:20.
Yeah.
And then wrap it up with Colombia in the evening at 18:28.
So on Saturday, we'll be watching semifinals.
Semifinals.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, the girls are going to be great. Team Kenya, we're behind you. Do us proud.